Welcome to Empower You Crown Up, where we believe in empowering minds to live empowered lives. Today, we have a very special guest. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring them to the stage. Hi, Walter. How are you?
I'm great, Brittany. How are you?
I am doing well. And I love deep discussion. I'm like, ugh, that means you're going to walk away with some knowledge. Like, it just means so much. Like, how did you come up with that?
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm greatly humbled and looking forward to this conversation. So I started Deep Discussion almost a decade ago, actually, because I wanted to share my stories in a way that they would uplift and inspire others. I had
Yeah.
gone through a lot at that point in my life. I'd experienced a lot of success, but found myself at a point where I was thinking, did I do too much too quick? Do I need to slow down?
Mm.
And was dealing with a lot of adversity. I got to a point where um, I lost my job at one point. I was dealing with, some challenging relationships, and with just finding myself really struggling. I'm like, what is God trying to teach me in these moments? And the more and more I reflect, I wanted to create this platform initially just to um, uplift, motivate, and inspire others through poetry because I love to write poetry. That's how I reflect and how I gather my thoughts. But as I was writing poetry, I realized the messages that I was sharing in my poetry carry bigger meaning. So I decided to take my platform to another level, started podcasting for a little bit, and then said I wanted to, connect with people a little bit better and open myself up to doing coaching. And here I am today, a speaker, a coach, an author, and trying to find ways to reach people with the inspirational messages that God has given me to share with the world.
I love that because, like, you just remind me of myself because I know how I was growing up. Like, I would never in a million years believe that I would be like an international keynote speaker or an author. And I say that, but I remember writing down, doing a drawing where I put my hands on this thing, and I traced it and I wrote in each one what I wanted to be. And when I went and looked back at it, I wrote on there that I wanted to be an author in one of the fingers. And I was like, wow, what we say to ourselves and those moments, we don't realize how much power they have. And so when I hear children talking and playing games like, okay, in put you in jail and stuff like that, I'm like, no, don't play those games. Because it's so powerful, the words that we say and the things that we do. And poetry, that is another way of journaling. And that reminds me of myself, like growing up, like that was my outlet. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't necessarily, do this or do that. But when I was going through things, I turned to poetry. That was my way to, express it. And so for you, is that kind of like what it was for you as well? How you got
Yeah,
into poetry?
yeah, absolutely. Poetry was a way for me to center myself and center my thoughts and emotions because with social media, we know today, as soon as you go through something, people ready to post, throw the whole thing away. You know, I'm ready to run away and all of that stuff. And I got to a point where I had to mature in that way and find out how do I learn from my experiences as opposed to using them as ways to define who I am, as a
Mhm.
use them as ways that define who I'm becoming. And the more and more I wrote poetry, the more my thoughts just became more meaningful, and it really just helped me again center my thoughts, feel better about myself, and it really helped me connect with what God was trying to show me with all that I was going through.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's how you know you have a deeper calling on your life. I was listening to this sermon, Pastor Mike, and he was talking about that. Pastor Mike Jr., the recording artist, and he was talking about that. He was like, when you have more on your life, when God has called you to do something greater, you're gonna go through more trials and more tribulations. And I'm like, okay, that means we accept the challenge. That means God is using us for something great. And when you think about that, when I heard you say getting into the coaching aspect of things, like your story reaches different when you've been through some things. If you ain't been through nothing, people like, yeah, but you don't know because you haven't walked this journey. But when you have walked the journey and walked the walk, and you're like, look, I was sitting there in that chair like you some years ago or a month ago.
Right.
Then it's like, I'm listening. I'm all ears because you've been there. Now I want to hear, how did you get through it? What did you do?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you bring that up. Like, I swear it's just crazy how the universe works sometimes. I was talking with a close friend of my wife's, who's obviously a friend of mine as well, about helping me with this program that I'm putting together. And when I told her about my plans and my vision with the program, she started like almost like challenging me. Like at first, I felt like she was attacking me because she was like,
Mm.
what have you done to warrant you doing this kind of coaching, like to know all of this stuff that you're teaching. And at first I was reading, I was like, dang, she just trying to tell me to throw the whole thing away. But the more and more I thought about it, I had to really like kind of like take a step back really and say, what have I gone through to share these, this information or this knowledge with people? So, sometimes again, self-awareness is something that I speak about and that I try to live on, because humility is one of the greatest attributes that you can have. Never thinking that you're too high, but also never thinking that you're too low. Your story is enough to be a testimony to someone else. Who that someone else is, that's for God to show you. That's for
That's
God
right.
to pick out and say, your story can help this person. So I think what you just said was spot on. We all have gone through something that has taught us, and it's up to us if we want to teach others and know where our place is to help and transform others' lives.
That's right. And being confident in that, because I think that a lot of times, depending on how you're raised and what you go through, you feel like I need to be an expert because it feels like that when you're on the other side of things. Like that person talking on the stage, you're like, okay, they seem to have it all together. But then as you keep living life, you're like, nah, they ain't got it all together because I ain't got it. I ain't
Right.
got it all together. But it's okay. And people want to see that. And I think that's the one good aspect in a sense with social media is that you're able to share the good, the bad, and the not so good, even though most people share all the good.
Right.
And it's like life is no one's life is like that. And that's why so many people are dealing with depression and so many different things because they feel like they have to live up to this imposter syndrome when you
Right.
don't, because nobody's life is perfect.
Exactly. Exactly. 100% agreed. And the thing about it is there's like two things that you have to consider when, trying to inspire and uplift others. And that's to be real and be relatable.
Mm,
Nowadays people are not going to easily draw themselves to someone that has, been, swimming in money from the day they was born, got this high profile career and,
right.
pretty much do whatever they want. They want to hear a story. They want to know, what did
That's
you overcome to get to where you are now? And what are you still dealing with? Because we're all still dealing with something. We all
that's
have
right.
challenges and obstacles that we're still facing. So those that you want to uplift, you want to say, I've been where you are and I'm still going through stuff, because you don't
That's
want
right.
them to think, oh, I'm going to help you get to where you're trying to get to. But know that there's still going to be things that you're going to face and challenges you're going to run into. So it's important to be relatable and to be real as well.
That's true. When you're talking, you reminded me of this show. I don't know if you and your wife ever watched this called Married to Medicine. And it's like different couples on there, and one of them is like a doctor or dentist and things of that nature. And so you have Dr. Heavenly, and for the longest throughout the season, she's like, me. Well, she calls her husband Daddy. She's like, me and Daddy, we're good. Everybody's like, nobody's marriage is perfect. Like everybody got
Right.
something, whether you want to share it or not.
Exactly.
Everybody goes through something. It's just, can you guys fight together and get to the other side? That's the key.
Exactly. Exactly. And and that's what, again, that's what my platform was built upon, overcoming adversity, because that when I tell my story or when I share my knowledge or my thoughts and ideas, it's all about overcoming an obstacle, because that's
Yes.
what that's what's relatable. You know, people don't want to just hear, yeah, I got promoted because I worked hard. Like, okay, what challenges did you face in getting promoted? You know,
Yeah.
did you deal with a difficult manager? Did you deal with a increased workload that kept you up at night? You know, what are the
Right.
challenges and the hurdles? Because those are the things that are relatable, especially in the moment. You know, if I'm trying to receive advice for someone to show me how to get to the next level in my career, I want to know, what did you face in that moment leading up to where you are now? I don't want to know what you're doing right this minute, because you're already there. I'm not there yet. I'm trying to get there. So I think, you know, it's important for people, again, to be humble. You know that you went through stuff too, and you're still going through stuff. You know, no
That's
one is perfect, and you want people to be relatable to you. So sometimes perfect can sometimes be a creature of the devil.
That's right. That's true. That's very, very true. And to me, like why you're saying that being real and relatable, that's how you get your clients that are for you.
Yeah,
Because, we not for everybody. I
exactly,
don't want to work with
exactly.
everybody. And everybody can't handle the type of coaching and the type of things that we offer. Like
Mhm.
when it comes to mental health, you remind me, I had a client this week and I always ask, like, have you ever previously done counseling? What was that like? What are your expectations? Because you might come to me and realize, like, this ain't for me. I'm going to give you homework. So if you ain't ready to do the work, I'm not for you. Because you got to work in between your sessions. Don't think you can show up like church, how back in the day, like, okay, you just show up on Sunday and that's enough. Like, no, what are you doing throughout the week to build yourself
Right,
up?
right, exactly.
And so one lady, she said, she was like, I didn't like the fact that, when I would come to the sessions, we were just kind of just talking. And it was like no goal, no point in mind. And I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
well, yeah, we have to have a goal. We have to have a point. We have to have things that we're working towards. But you also have to know what it is that you want in life. And so I think that's the misconception. Sometimes people sign up for different training programs and they're like, okay, I signed up, boom, check, you're going to get me across the finish line. And they don't realize you still got to do work. I'm
Exactly.
here to guide you, and you got to
Mhm.
know if this is something you really want in life. And your life experiences shape you for that and prepare you for that if you really want it.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you hit it right on the head too when you said you have to be willing to do the work, and we're here to guide you, because what I try to express and preach in my with my coaching is, I'm here to support you, to help you and guide you to where you want to be, not tell you where you should be. You come to me and
Right.
tell me, I'm going through this, I want to get to this. If I ask you what are your goals and you say you don't know, then I don't know if my coaching is for you, because I'm trying to help you
Right.
get somewhere. I don't want to try to help you figure out where you want to get to, because that's something that you have to discover. I'm here to help and
Right.
support you in your journey towards your goals. And I think that that's sometimes, again, the misconception that people run into. They think that you're supposed to tell them what to do. No, we're here to guide you and help you and show you how to do what it is that you're trying to accomplish, because that's how you're going to experience fulfillment. You're not going to be fulfilled if I tell you, oh, you should be this or you should do this. That wasn't thought of on your part. You didn't think of that yourself.
Right.
I told you to do that, and that's not my job to tell you what you should do. It's to help you and guide you to what you want to do.
Exactly, exactly. Well, tell our listeners, how can they work with you and what does that even look like for them to join the deep discussion?
Absolutely. So, again, I'm a career success coach. I primarily help people, again, um, move towards and accomplish their goals, but also the biggest part is helping them maintain and sustain those goals. If you're interested in receiving career success coaching, you can visit my website at deepdiscussion.org, or you can contact me via email at deepdiscussion13@gmail.com. I offer what's called the Vantage Experience, and it's a 3-phase process. It starts with discovery and define, where we discuss what your goals are. We talk about short-term goals, long-term goals, and stretch goals. The stretch goal piece is very important, because I want people to feel empowered and feel like they can accomplish whatever their biggest dreams are, and I'm going to help them guide towards that. The second phase is design and develop, where we create a plan. We work together to say, this is step one. This is what you want to accomplish. This is how I'm going to help you. And it's an accountability thing. My job is to hold you accountable, not tell you what to do. And the last phase, again, it's about sustaining, which I call direct, and I can't think of the other word, but mainly it's direct and continue to manage your goals. So again, I do check-ins. I say, hey, how's everything going with this? Have you done this yet? Has anything changed or developed? Direct and develop, that's what it is. Has anything developed, any new developments in your situation? So if you're someone that's trying to, become an executive, you want to finish school, whatever your goal is in your career, I want to be one who supports you, who helps you and show you the way, and also be there to help you sustain and maintain those incredible accomplishments that you achieve.
Yes, I love it. And do you do like a screening process so that way you can know like who is ready and who's not to work with you?
Yes. So if you visit my website and you click the consultation button, you schedule a consultation, but there is a form that I'll send out to you to answer all of the questions. You share what your concerns are, what your challenges are. And I have a lot of tools that I actually work with, because again, sometimes people have an idea of what they want, but it's not clear and concise. So, I created and designed some tools to help people figure out and, really nail down and drill down what it is they want to do. Because some people say, oh, I just want to help people, or I just want to serve others. And the question is, in what capacity do you want to serve others?
Yes.
And so, but yes, I do have a screening process where you complete a form and I'll send out a questionnaire to you, and we could go through the questionnaire together, because that's, those are the things that I like to do. I like to ask questions and learn from others, and that's how you learn.
Yeah, and I love that, because that was one of the things that I struggled with a lot, trying to figure out what is my purpose. And I was like, I just knew I wanted to help people, but that's so many different things. From it could be nursing, it could be whatever you call it, cleaning, it's just so much. But I realized that sometimes you don't know until you experience life, and then you're like, okay, Lord, now I know this is where I should be helping people. But also understand your purpose can change. And so I know for myself lately, it's been, okay, that's your purpose, to make people laugh when they're going through things. And it's been interesting how it's like, well, what about me, Lord? What about when I'm going through things? Who's going to help me laugh? Well, then I realized that, God listens to every conversation that we have. And so as I've been going through certain things, talking to certain friends, and when we recap the situations, we bust out laughing. And I'm like, okay, that's what it is. Because when you're going through, that stuff ain't funny. You're like, that is exactly not
funny. 100%.
Right. But when you replay on it, you're like, girl, then he said this. And, you was just like, okay, now we can laugh at it, because that is nowhere near funny in that moment.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So I love that. You're helping people define their purpose and passion, and you're walking along with them. And that way they can know that you're going to be there with them every step of the way. Love it.
Absolutely. And, and like you said, sometimes you got to give people homework. You got to say to them, have you considered looking at this? Like, is to be real quick. I had a client earlier this year, I think it was, that, said he think he want to go back to school, or he think he want to do sports medicine. He's just not sure. And I said, well, have you looked and have you researched any college programs? And he said, no, he hasn't really had the time. And I was like, well, one, you got to make time for what it is you really want to do, which,
that's right.
And also, even if you have to just pick up one of those community college catalogs where they just break down the programs and show some of the courses, I challenged him, request maybe 2 or 3 of those and just look through, because sometimes when you read something, it really brightens up a light bulb in your head and make you say, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me do a little bit more research. Let me find out about this course. Let me sign up for this course. And, sometimes you may find out, maybe I'm not as interested as I thought. You just never know. So it's just small tasks like that you can do to just find out where your passion is or what your calling is, because we all want to be great at what we're meant to do.
That's
And
right.
it starts with discovering what your skills and your passions are.
That's a good point you made. And I think sometimes people feel like when they're met with so much opposition, that maybe this isn't right for me. And that doesn't mean that it's not right for you. It could be that that is the right path for you, but you have to want it bad enough. And you remind me of a story right quick when I was getting ready to get my LPC. When I tell you any test I've ever passed in my life, I've always passed it the first time. And when I went to go take this exam, the way they do for LPC, you have to do your test first, then your hours. And then if you're like a LCSW, you do your hours first and then your test. So anyway, long story short, I went in there. And I said, our people, we are the worst sometimes. Like, I knew I had failed it. Like, when she read me the paper, she was like, I'm like, you ain't got to do all that. But it was a moment that I had to have a conversation with God, and he was like, do you really want this? Because, everything else just been given to you. You passed it, but do you really want it? And if you want it, then you're going to study for it. And so when I tell you I had to go pull out 3 different books, and I was studying this, and I was on this site, but it was because I had to show that I really wanted it. And it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made. But I had to go through that. I could have said, you know what? I usually always pass my test, so this ain't for me.
Right.
But I think seeing that lady's face also pushed me. I was like, I'm going to show her. I'm going to pass my test. Next time she ain't
right.
I was like, oh my gosh, really?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, like you said, when you met with opposition, when you're met with opposition like that, it challenges you. It says, how bad do you want it? And
that's right.
If you want to prove people wrong, that's one way of looking at it. But also, you have to want to prove yourself right. And,
that's right.
And that's one of the biggest things I try to stress to people. It's one thing to want to prove people wrong. We're human. Every human being has wanted to try to prove somebody wrong that doubted them. But it starts with wanting to prove yourself right first.
That's right.
So that's one of the biggest testimonies that I had to learn, and experience myself as well.
Yes. Well, tell our listeners, how can they connect with you one more time?
Sure. So again, you can contact me via email at deepdiscussion13@gmail.com. Or if you're someone that likes to talk on the phone or text, you could contact me at 443-356-6096. And we can start working on getting you towards your ultimate goal of success.
All right. And before we close, what is a word of empowerment or encouragement that you would love to leave our listeners today?
Wow. So many. No, I think, what I will say is, just as we just said a minute ago, when you're met with opposition and so much pushback in your pursuit of success, it's, a challenge for you to really show not just do you have what it takes, but also do you want this? Because a lot is going to be required of you, and you got to think highly of yourself before you take on something that has a higher purpose. So that's where
I love that. And you just reminded me as we close how I tell a lot of my clients, like, it doesn't matter until you see it. People can tell you all day long, you're beautiful, you're handsome, but if you don't see it, it don't matter how many people tell you that. And so you have to see the vision and want it so bad enough that it starts with you. Everybody can tell you should be this or you should be that, but until you see it, it's not going to happen. So we're so grateful to have you on our episode. And since you did say you're married, definitely we're going to be having some relationships and things of that nature, deep discussions coming on in this year. So we would love to have you guys come. I don't know if she's a talker too, but it would be nice to have you and your wife.
She is. She is. She talked more than me, believe it or not. And I'm the one with the coaching business, the podcast, and all that stuff. She still talk more than me.
Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, she's going to be perfect then. Yes. All right. Well, we're so excited to have you again, thank you for joining us, and we will definitely have you back on in future episodes to come.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. This was great, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Likewise.